Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
How are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, okay, sir. Fine, sir. Nice to meet you, sir. Sir, you can check your presentation. Just I am allowing you so that it will be checked earlier.
Sorry, the audio is not too good. Slow.
So at the bottom side, near the camera, a screen is given that you have to click. Yeah,
So you're
nice.
able to see the screen?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I will check now. Sir, can you please stop sharing this time so that again I will allow you after your brief introduction.
Sorry, I didn't get you. I mean, the audio is pretty bad. I have to close a lot of my browser and take a look at them. Is any better?
Okay, so I welcome all the participants on behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, Sagar Institute of Research and Technology, Bhopal, SAGE Group. I, Dr. Dinesh Kumar Kohli, welcome you all in the fifth and final day of International Faculty Development Program on Innovative and Entrepreneurial Ecosystem Engineering for Post-COVID-19 Pandemic. And our today's speaker is Dr. Lance C.C. Fung. He is Emeritus Professor from School of Engineering and Information Technology, Murdoch University, Australia. And Dr. Fung will talk the topic Emerging Technologies and Artificial Intelligence, the Australian Roadmap. Now, before going to invite sir on the stage, just I want to share you one video of our SAGE group because we are working under the SAGE group. So just please watch this video. So we are working under the SAGE group, and whose CMD is Engineer Sanjeev Agarwal, and with his two daughters, Miss Shivani Agarwal and Miss Sakshi Agarwal. And the director of our institute is Dr. Manish Maurya, sir. So now I would like to just give you the brief introduction of our today's speaker, Dr. Fung, sir. So Dr. Fung was born in Hong Kong and worked as a marine radio and electronic officer from 1972 to 1978. He graduated with a BSc degree with first class honors in maritime studies in 1981 and a Master of Engineering degree in system test technology in 1982 from the University of Wales. His PhD degree was awarded by the University of Western Australia in 1994.
भारत में कोरोना वायरस से अब तक
The application
33,738
on the with the thesis on the application of artificial intelligence techniques to electrical power system engineering under the supervision of the late Professor Kit Po Bong. I taught at the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Singapore Polytechnic from 1982 to 1988, and at the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Curtin University of Technology from 1989 to 2003. He joined Murdoch University in 2003 and was appointed as Emeritus Professor in 2015. In 2017, he was awarded honorary PhD degree in Information Technology by Balailak University, Thailand, in recognition of his contributions towards the development and advancement of their research and postgraduate programs. He has held position as Academic Program Chair, Associate Dean of Research, Postgraduate Research Director, and Director of the Center for Enterprise Collaborative in Innovative Systems. He has supervised over 30 postgraduate and doctorate students and has published over 330 academic articles in international journals and conference proceedings in the areas of neural networks, intelligent systems, computational intelligence, cybernetics, electrical power systems, image processing, data mining, machine learning, knowledge management, education, and web technology. Since retirement, he continued to dedicate time to supervise postgraduate studies, and his motto is means learning with no boundary. He has been a dedicated volunteer in the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering for over 2 decades. He has served in many positions in the Executive Committee of Technical Society chapters, WA section, Australia Council, and R10 XCOM. He has been a member of the Board of Governors in the IEEE Systems, Man and Cybernetic Society, from 2010 to 15, served as chair of the IEEE New Initiative Committee, NIC, Conference Quality Committee, CQC, IEEE Technical Program Integrity Committee, and currently as IEEE R10 Chair of Educational Activities Committee from 2019 to 20. He is honored being a nominated candidate for the IEEE 2021 to 22 Asia Pacific Region Director Electrical, and he looks forward to serve IEEE members and the community. So this is the just brief introduction of our today's speaker, Dr. Fung sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. Fung on the stage to give his presentation. And before that, I would like to request all the participants to make benefit of this session and for enjoying this session and for the listening passionately. So I would like to invite Dr. Fang sir to share his screen and please continue sir your talk. You are welcome sir here in this FTP. Yes sir.
Okay, good afternoon all. Are you able to see my screen? And also, can you hear me?
Yeah, sir, sure.
Okay, if that is the case, I'm going to take away my camera so that you can concentrate on the screen. Very good afternoon all, and thank you very much for the Saga Institute of Research and Technology, FOPO, for the invitation. So today's talk is on emerging technologies and artificial intelligence, the Australian roadmap. So I'm going to cover a little bit more than this. So let's see how the time goes. And I take the opportunity to acknowledge and thank you for the invitation by Dr. Dinesh Kumar Kohli, the Professor of Mechanical Engineering convener, and SIRT Photo India. So the agenda for today is I quickly start off looking at the emerging technologies and the fourth industrial revolution. And I take a look at the roles of the artificial intelligence. And from the Australian roadmap point of view, I'm going to take a look at the documents released by the Australian government together with the CSIRO. CSIRO stands for Commonwealth Science and Industry Research Organization. This is the key research organization was supported by the government. And I take a look at some of the innovation and some specialization that are according to this roadmap, that how we see from Australia's point of view, that these are the opportunities that we want to put our emphasis and also the focus into. And I also like to talk about, before I go in terms of the challenges I see for AI, in particular with respect to the code of ethics. Okay, so it's not showing up on the screen yet. I think the network is a bit slow. I don't see it's happening on your screen. Okay, yep, you got it now. Okay, then I'm going to take a look just very briefly Well, from IEEE point of view, we do have some activities in this area called ethics in action. So I'm going to just briefly talk about that, and I'll refer back to the Australian AI ethics framework. So I do see that, the role of emerging technology and AI is only just part of it. But ultimately, we need to be careful and take a look at how we make good use of the AI technology for the benefit of the society. So currently, I'm located in Perth. Okay, well, I can see that the network is a bit slow while refreshing the screen, and I hope it happens on your screen already. Okay, well, what you see is, I'm on the west coast of Australia, and I know that you are somewhere in the middle and northern part of India. Well, Murdoch University is the second oldest university. We're coming to 50 years history, and the oldest one is University of Western Australia. And we have two other universities, Curtin University and Edith Cowan University. One more is the Notre Dame University, which is a private university. So in order to just let you know a little bit about myself, well, you can do a Google search for under Murdoch University profile, Lance Fung, and you will expect to see, a screen of this page. You'll just cover some of my backgrounds, and I'll just show you a little bit some of the things I've done in the past. I consider it is very important for you to get to know, listen to any speakers. Well, then maybe you should do a little bit of homework, take a look at what the person have done. And in particular, some information I hope may be also useful for you. As I'm going to share some of the papers and my PhD students' thesis. So as a background, I always like to share these few photos because I always amazed how the technology have changed in the past close to 50 years or so. Well, the first picture you see on the right-hand side on top, it was my first photo on my first job as a radio officer in 1974. And then the second photo in the middle, is my second ship in 1976. Well, at that time, the telecommunication on the ship is entirely based on Morse code. And then we used the radio transmitter, which is as big as a refrigerator, as you can see behind my back. And then, but just within these few years, compared to the first ship, although most of the system remained the same, we're already beginning to install, the satellite system, as an emergency system. And then the last picture, it was taken in 1981 that I was doing my master's degree. So looking back around 40 years ago now. And that was the first time I encountered microprocessors. So that was my master dissertation. I worked on that. So now looking back after 40 years, you can see how the advancement of the electronics or communication, computer have changed so much over the years. So just as a brief outline, my background, my first technical training. Okay, sorry about this. Okay, I didn't see it. Well, if there's anything happen, please put in the chat box so that I can realize what's going on.
Yeah, okay.
Just coming back to this one is, earlier on I was saying that you have the list of the papers my university has collected, and then you see around 61,000 downloaded has been done in the past over 10 years or so. And then for this one, you also see the list of PhD theses that my students have completed. And again, you can download it. If I take one example to show you, if you click one of the title, you will see that this is something you may expect to see. So you have the title, you have the author, which is the student. And in this particular case, she graduated and submitted in 2008. And then you'll be able to see the abstract of the thesis, and you're also able to see the front pages. The front pages are the first few pages of the thesis, so you'll be able to see the abstract, the list of the papers we have published, the acknowledgement, the list of table of content, etc. So if you find that the thesis is of use to you, then you can download the whole thesis. It's completely available free to anyone. And also, even for this thesis, published in 2008, I'm pleasantly surprised to find that this thesis has been downloaded around close to 2,000 times, 1,880 times. And then you can see there was a few months that you have quite a lot of downloads, over 100 or so. And even up to now, based in 2020, I still see some downloads going on. So I hope that this is going to be of use, well, to the public. So apart from the information you can find out from our university, you can also find out information on the public domain, like the Google Scholar. In this one, you can see that the papers have been sorted according to the number of citation. So my overall citation is at over 3,662, and then my H index is 28. So what it means is I have 28 papers. Each one of them have been cited over 28 times. And I also have 81 I-10 index. It means that I have 81 papers. They have been cited at least 10 times. And I'm also quite pleased to find out that this particular paper published in 1993, well, which was my PhD thesis work together with my late supervisor. And this paper, well, is still being cited, well, even up to now. So if you take a look, well, from Google Scholar, well, it tells me that from the year 2000, and well, actually even before that, up to 2020, well, you can still see it's being cited. And then some of the citation is also quite recent. I just took it a few days ago. Well, there was one, well, this is 48 days, but I think I did a screen capture this a few days ago. So I find it is really, well, pleased to find out that some of our work is still being used today. And similarly, you can also take a look at my other index, the other websites, the ResearchGate, which quoted me around 28.66, put me around the top 15% of all the members. IEEE Explore, that they give you the list. Well, most of them are the conference papers, and then I have under the computer science, which is a DBLP, computer science bibliography, and also Scopus. Well, Scopus is now that I know a lot of university or government looking at that as some kind of index. So in there, it quoted me 200 papers they have collected, and 16 is my H index. And also they have another indication in terms of my number of citations based on the 200 documents within Scopus and the number of citations over the years as well. So last year, it's still quite good. I still have close to 200 being cited. And then, well, you have it in Publon as well. So as I said, well, the main objective for me to sharing with all these is, well, I would like you to make use of those information if they're publicly available, like some of our papers and the thesis, and I hope they'll be of use to you. Now, we come to our main part of the talk now. Mainly, if you take a look at the title, you talk about emerging technologies and AI. So I start off by looking at one of the documents, well, from Gartner Institute. Well, Gartner is a public and private research institute, well, whereby their main target is not academic staff or student. Really, their main clients, well, are the people in the industry. And a lot of them, they serve those at the C level. When I say C, it's like CEO, CIO, CTO, CFO, those kind of C. Chief Information Officer, Chief Executive Officer. Of course, well, there could be managerial position as well, and even engineers level as well. But on the whole, the main thing is useful because it's being well respected in the industry. Well, because they look at it from a very practical point of view. Well, they describe, they talk about the vendor, talk about the technologies, mainly useful for the industry and for businesses. So every year they do give out some kind of a, not necessarily as a forecast, but just highlight some of those emerging technologies or strategic technology, whatever you like to call them. So this was a report, it was released last year. They called 10 Strategic Technology Trends in 2020. And I can see, they are very close to what we have, we're talking about today on emerging technology. So they have identified 10 technologies, and 5 of them they consider what they call the people-centric. Another 5 is the smart spaces. Now the documents are publicly available, so you can just search for it, you can find it, you can find the whole report. So what are the 10 technology trends I'm talking about? What is called hyper automation. So of course I can only touch on it very briefly. So I leave it to you to find out and explore for yourself. So what it means in here is, you can see more and more automation that being put in the technology allow, not really replacement. They can really, supplement or complement, what once we expect the human being to do, but now the machine able to see it. You will see some of these examples when I come to the very end. Another one is talking about multi-experiences. So what does it mean by this? So it means that nowadays, well, using the computer is no longer related to just the screen, the keyboard, even laptop. But really, there are so many sources of information. Well, you can collect the data. You can also make decisions. So nowadays, well, you even have wearable devices. Well, you have a very advanced computer sensors. So a good example is, well, my watch. Well, although I'm not making an advertisement, but it's an Apple Watch. Well, I can use it when I'm swimming, and then you can monitor my heartbeat. You can monitor how many laps I have swam. I can use it for walking, so you can monitor my GPS. I can even use it for talking. Well, just like a mobile phone. Well, of course, connected to my mobile phone, but I just use the watch on my wrist. So you can see you got a multi-sensory and multi-touch point of interfaces. That's what's happening now. So democratization, what does it mean by this? So it means that nowadays it's no longer, well, you limit the computer expertise to just simply a small bunch of people. But really a lot of people can make use, well, of the tools, make use of the coding experience. Nowadays, nowadays is cool, even talking about teaching the children to do coding as well. So that means that, well, the expertise, well, once it was very, well, unique and not widely available. Well, nowadays, well, it could be, well, quite readily available. So you can have easy access to the technical or business expertise, well, without extensive or costly training. You can get training, well, on the internet. It'll be quite cheap, a few, well, $20, $30, well, like some of the modules we have in IEEE. Human augmentation. So this one is allowing to have a cognitive and a physical experience, in particular, that using the sensors, well, the vision, well, you get augmented reality, virtual reality. So extend, well, the interface with the human being, transparency and traceability. Well, this one is a very important aspect. Well, when I come to the last part, talk about the challenges, the ethics, well, this is relating to this part. Because of our data, our digital footprint is going to be widely, well, can be accessible on the internet. So in that case, well, it is very important for the organization, well, need to take good care of it. So this is where the ethics, well, of the of handling with all this data and the autonomous system comes in. The other 5 is what relating to the cyberspace. So one is this, the first one is called empowered edge. What does it mean by this? Well, edge computing is referring to the computing power analytic is now can be installed at the front end, well, at the sensors. That is at the edge of the network. Because if you consider the complete network nowadays, we talk about IoT, Internet of Things, that you have the sensor connection, well, can be any part with the system. Well, like you have a surveillance camera. So you could have a surveillance camera. Well, it does the front end analysis of the images, well, maybe to find out is there a potential burglar on your property. So if you're looking at some kind, since you're mechanical engineering, so maybe some kind of a monitoring devices, surveillance devices, or maybe even assembly line on the front end. So now the information processing and content collection and delivery are placed closer to the source of the information. So you do not need to rely on the communication, send all the data to the centralized computer to do the analysis, but rather it can be done locally. So by doing that, you can make the speed much faster and also reduce the load on the network. The distributed cloud. So in here, it means that, well, the storage of the information is no longer stored on the limited location, but rather it could be available in anywhere. So what we refer to the cloud. A good example is nowadays, well, you do not really need to have a lot of storage on your mobile phone or your computer, because you can upload everything, what we call to the cloud. So you got an advantage in the sense that you do not need to have a lot of a memory space on your device, because some of them you may have limitation. Say, for example, like in the case of the IoT or the edge computing, etc. And also you have another added advantage is in terms of the backup of your system. So because if you have the information on your mobile phone and on your laptop, if anything happened to them, well, if they're staying stolen, then you have big trouble. You can't recover them anymore. Or maybe you have some kind of damage to your system. So autonomous things. So this is we have been talking about, well, the automated system, and also well, we have all this automation can be available in different parts and in different devices. It could be autonomous vehicle, autonomous aerial vehicles, and drones, robots, ships. Well, we're talking about all kind of unmanned system. And then, well, for the practical blockchain, well, in the past, well, people had paid a lot of attention to blockchain because of the Bitcoins, because of the value and the money associated with it. They go up and down. But in practice, well, you have a lot of other potential application in the Bitcoin, and in particular, what we refer to the enterprise blockchain. They can be applied to different industry. If you refer to your mechanical system, then maybe in terms of logistics is a good example. That how this blockchain can be used to check the record. AI security, well, this will the main things. On one hand, we rely so much on the AI and also with the advancement of the technology, but the danger is being hacked, is being attacked. Well, it's always there. You got a potential that your system is being denied of service. You got a ransomware that they hijack your system, or maybe you got a leak of the securities and also the privacy information. So this is something to do with the ethics we're going to talk about very shortly. So all in all, well, we can see these 10, technology has been identified by Gartners. Then how does it relate to our IEEE? As a matter of fact, IEEE, we have another way to look at it. Well, first of all, we identify the fourth industrial revolution. And we can say that IEEE has been behind it because we have a major part to play in a lot of the information disseminated through our IEEE environment, mainly through our Explore library. So if you go back to the earlier years, well, in Industrial Revolution 1 is the steam. Well, when the steam engine was being found, that you create a lot of power instead of the human power or animal power. Then you go into electricity. So this type of energy and power can be distributed over the copper wires instead of the steam, whereby you have to go through pipes and those kind of things. Then we have another advancement, go through the computing age. Well, from the electricity, then we have the evolution of different devices. If I go back to my experience, well, when I first started, well, as a radio officer, we were using the system based on vacuum valves, and then a transistor comes in, an integrated circuit comes in, then very large scale integrated circuits comes in, microprocessors, microcomputers, microcontrollers, and that's what we have nowadays. So now we go into the next stage now with the cyber physical system, and this is the Industrial 4 and 4.0. And this is where not only the computing capability, but also the capability that is being connected to the internet anywhere, anytime. And then you also have the ability to interface with the physical system, like the wearable computers, like you have the IoT system connected to a lot of different places. So IEEE can be considered that we play a major part. But before we do that, we can take a look in terms of the expectation. They say that due to the fourth industrial revolution, 65% of children starting primary school today will eventually work in jobs that do not exist yet. So when you think about that, what it means is, by the time the children in the primary school, they may be around 10 years, maybe at the most 15 years while they come out from the university. So the things have changed so much. Again, if I have to use my personal experience, by the time I was a radio officer, after a few years, I can clearly see that whereby the end. Okay, so that's why in a way that I have decided to change, and even I work in the academic world. I also been changing from different disciplines, from radio communication. Okay, so I come back now. Okay, so I changed from radio communication, go to electronics. I've done controls, I've done instrumentation, and then I did integrated electronics. And then when I was in Curtin University, mainly for around 14 years, I was involved in computer engineering. And then for the past, since 2003 in the Murdoch University, I've been involved in IT. So things have changed. So even nowadays, I can anticipate things are going to continue to change as well. But nevertheless, well, we do see that, well, some of these areas, well, at this moment of time, as emerging technologies has been identified as follows. Well, we talk about Internet of Things, okay? This is the one that you have just seen earlier on. You talk about autonomous vehicles. So maybe I think from mechanical engineering, you'll be very interested in that. We talk about cloud computing, which I have said earlier on, distributed clouds, cyber security, AI securities, augmented realities. Well, big data is particularly related to AI, autonomous robots. Well, maybe this should be your main interest. 3D printing, additive manufacturing. So all these you can see are the engine and technologies behind the fourth industrial revolution. So if you take a look from IEEE point of view, well, IEEE have been a major part. Well, that a lot of these patents are related to the resources we have in IEEE, like the Internet of Things, at over 50% of those. So in here, you can see the investment in IoT have grown, and it's expected to maybe around nearly $15 trillion by 2025. This is some examples. IoT is being used in smart homes, smart cities, wearable health monitoring. Robotics, so maybe this is the main one related to that. You can see 63% of those patents have been related to IEEE publication. So we can see robotics is going to be everywhere, and the most notable changes, and robots are already utilized in manufacturing facilities around the world, but the field of robotics is not limited to manufacturing. So you got personal robots, well, you have a service robot. So you have a lot of robots available. So they say that over 3 million industrial robots will be in operation globally by 2020. And some of the research we have, like the humanoid robot framework, service robots, infrastructure robots. Okay, autonomous vehicles. So again, it's expected to be a things because autonomous vehicle is expected to bring a lot of advantages because of optimizations and also because possible reductions, well, of the accidents, etc. So again, you can see a high percentage of the autonomous vehicles, well, patents are related to IEEE. We also have the particular technical society related to that. So in here, it says that self-driving cars could save 500 billion each year in the US by reducing 94% of accidents caused by human errors. So sometimes human error is every. My wife's car just last month or so, she was parking in the car park, and no rhymes of reason somebody bumped into her. Well, her car is not even moving. And then, although we didn't pay anything for the insurance, apart from the inconveniences, but we can see the job is going to cost a couple $1,000s. Who is going to pay it? Well, insurance. Well, actually, indirectly, I have to pay for that. So these are some of the works. So if you have some kind of self-driving cars, autonomous vehicle for the mass transit, 5G based, intelligent transport system. So those are some of the recent work we have in IEEE. AI, this is the main thing now. I'm going to talk about this one. So in here, you talk about the AI between 1997 to 2017, in 20 years. So around 34 of those patents are related to IEEE. So it's really quite a broad field, and you will see later on. In terms of the investment, again, in here, it quoted Google have spent $3.9 billion, and 33% of the references are referred to IEEE. Amazon, Apple, Intel, Microsoft, you can see all of these are close to around just under $1 billion or so. So some of the recent work from IEEE, you can see some of the articles inside there. So artificial intelligence is a pretty broad field. So if you take a look on the chart on the right-hand side, so it's really a very broad field. We talk about machine learning, talk about different types of learning, and then talk about computer vision. Of course, nowadays, surveillance camera and all those things are part of the outcomes due to our advancement in AI. Affective computing, this is another area they're looking into, but the emotions was able to identify the emotions from the users. Robotic, again, there's no stranger to you. Automated planning and plant recognition. Again, I consider maybe in your manufacturing, mechanical engineering, you may be of interest to that. And some of the earlier years, we talk about expert system. And also some others were human language or technologies. We're talking about auto translations or natural language processing, search and information retrieval, voice and speech recognition. All those are different disciplines and research under the broad field of AI. So AI is the ability for machines to learn and adapt to different problems and situations, also called machine intelligence. AI is very versatile and will work in conjunction with IoT, Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, robotics, in addition to some other advanced technology. So according to Stanford University, the share of jobs requiring AI skills have grown 4.5 times since 2013. And during these fourth industrial revolutions, the percentage will rise as the world's most innovative companies invest more in AI applications. And this is where our Australian government comes in as our AI roadmap. Again, the information is publicly available. Well, you can just simply search the CSIRO, stand for Commonwealth Science and Industry Research Organization. The Data 61 is a group work together and they produce this roadmap. So here's a free document. Well, again, you can download it. So it just simply give you some overview. Well, how Australia, we see ourselves, we want to put our focus and also see how the growth and opportunities in the years to come. So in here, well, it's expected the AI will worth 22.17 trillion to the global economy by 2030. So this particular roadmap was published in 2019 November and developed by CSIRO's, the research unit, the Data 61, and the Department of Industry, Innovation and Science. So the report identified the strategies to help develop a national AI capability to boost the productivity of Australian industry, create jobs and economic growth, and improve the quality of life for the current and future generation. So this is really what the whole thing is all about as regard to this roadmap. So these are some of the examples. You talk about some of the quick facts. So you're talking about AI potential work for 315 billion to Australian economy by 2028, and overall you heard about 22.17 trillion. And talk about how the startup, and also the employees are being employed. It's 161,000 of new specialist AI workers by 2030 in machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing, other AI technology. Some of these, they have some more general terms like data scientist, okay? So some of similar terms all under the same category. So the Australian government, communication and technology sector employs 663,000 workers in field related to AI. It's expected to grow to around 3/4 of a million people, and at a rate of 20,000 additional workers per year. So today is around 66,000 of them are working in remote and the regional areas. And talk about examples how AI is being used for the detection of skin cancer. In Australia, one of the highest mortality rate is due to skin cancer because of Australians like the sun, they like the beaches. So it has been one of the main problems. Unlike some other countries, they may have lung cancers or throat cancers, etc. So Australia is also a big company, a big industry is the agriculture and farming. So we have the robot Arbot 2 developed by Queensland University of Technology, and it's going to save 1.3 billion by automating the weed removal and improving agricultural productivity. Well, in the past, a lot of the strategy in tackling the weed problem is by chemical. And looking at your place, when I look back history, 1984, the disaster over your place is mainly because of the chemical company and of the errors. And I really feel sorry for that. I remember that. Hope that verse is over all history now. But nevertheless, looking at the use of the robot instead of using the chemical, to treat the weeds, it's going to be a major improvement and also help in terms of instead of using having the environment. I've already mentioned using the AI for the autonomous vehicle can reduce the death rate and also reduce the cost to the community because of the damages. Australia is also a major mining company, mining industry in particular in Western Australia. So for those mines, you can see some of those big trucks, they carry a full load of those things. Now they can do driverless, autonomous vehicle, okay? Mining operation in the Pilbara region of Western Australia are amongst the world's first most automated region company. So the Fortescue is one of the companies. They operate 112 driverless truck with a 30% productivity gain. So think about it. A fleet of 112 driverless truck. You do not need to pay for the driver. They will not get tired. They will not get into accident. Okay, so you have a 30% productivity increase improvement. Launched in 2008, Rio Tinto's mine of the future has 140 automated trucks, drills, and trains as well. Okay, so it's just really mind-boggling in terms of how AI can be put in. And then the other one is talking about how the startup, 21% are now considered AI relevant to their products or the services. In other words, a lot of these startups now is really offering services and products in AI. And also some other example. This is the icon we have in Australia, which is the Sydney Beach. Sydney Bridge in Sydney. In here, they have 2,400 sensors are being monitoring the steel, because of the bridge itself is quite old now. So, but it's very heavily. If you got a chance come to Sydney, it's really right in the city center, just opposite the Opera House. So it's really beautiful place. So, but it's a major traffic artery as well. So if there's something happen to it, it's going to be a lot of traffic jams. And then drones are also being used to perform rescue and spot sharks. Okay, Australia. Well, even though we got a beaches, beautiful beaches, but also one of the potential dangers are shark. Just even today, I read the paper, another youth was being injured in the southwest by sharks. So you can be using drones for some monitoring of the sharks. So these are some of the examples how AI is being applied within our areas. These are some other further examples. You're talking about how AI can be used helping the impaired visions. One problem we have nowadays, a lot of people are having diabetics. And diabetic, one of the potential implications is the damage of the sight as well. So when I do my yearly test, actually they do check my eye, not so much in just simply saying my short-sightedness or far-sightedness will increase or decrease. But that one they can even identify from the veins of those vessels, am I having potential issue with my with diabetics? Well, touch wood, I don't have it. Another one is we also have the problem of aging population. So using the robotic, I'm able to help those people. A lot of them, they may be still staying alone. Some of them, even if they have a partner, but sometimes a lot of them, both of them are aged as well. So using some of these robots able to help them to live independently. So by doing that, it also reduces the cost of aged caring. So I have already mentioned about the farming. They use the robots to make the wheat free, and also helping the small business owners to juggle the day-to-day demand of running the enterprises, because they can make use of AI to help them facilitate the workflow. Well, we talk about the bushfire, and you may have heard about early last year, we got a major bushfire. A lot of the wildlife, koalas, kangaroo, they die. So it's really caught the world's attention, and we're really thankful for a lot of firefighters from other parts of the world come and help us. So if we are able, in the summer, it's a potential problem because we're such a big country. But in the past, there are some, they have the bushfire monitoring station. They do it manually. Somebody stand on some very high trees and then try to identify, spot is there any smoke coming up. But using this kind of AI techniques, say for example, satellite images, we're able to find out the hotspot. And also the mental health. It's quite interesting that the COVID-19, one of the unexpected consequences, a lot of people are stressed and depression because of the lockdown, and then it affect very much on the mental health as well. So using some kind of AI program, apps, so these people can be connected and try to find out what's going on. I've already mentioned about the skin cancers and also about a lot of expected job opportunity coming up in Australia. So the three main areas from the roadmap, in Australia point of view, the government identified these three areas: natural resources and the environment. So this is the one related to our mining and our agriculture product industry. So it can help to reduce the cost and improve the productivity of agriculture, mining, fishery, forestry, and environmental management. Another one is that you have already seen issues regarding the age, regarding the skin cancer, and all those are related to health, aging, and disability. So Australia is comparatively, well, I would say that we are quite lucky. Well, we are quite generous in taking care of the people having the disability. So of course, it is at a cost to the government. So we will help if we are able to use AI or to reduce the cost and also improve the quality of life of those people. And also in the third area, looking is the cities and the towns and infrastructures. Because on one hand, well, we are quite lucky with the environment. But on the other hand, we are also issue with some of the city growing too big and too many populations. Of course, compared to India, we are nothing. But nevertheless, well, we do have traffic jams. Well, in city where I live, well, Perth, well, we do have issues, well, on the freeway for the peak hours. And actually, if you go to Sydney and Melbourne, so also they have issues as well. So what it means is it requires better planning and better infrastructure. So those are the three main areas for the AI specialization that our government will look in terms of the roadmap. So having said so far, we're looking at the opportunities, we're looking at the areas of applications. So we ask ourselves a simple question: are we there yet? Are we really good enough to have some AI system? We're so good and reliable, we can use it. Because nowadays, you come across so many papers, so many conferences, everyone is talking about AI, machine learning, facial recognition. But take a look at some of these articles that has been released recently. Millions of Black people affected by racial bias in healthcare. Now, on one hand, we're saying that we use AI to treat the people, but what happens if the system are biased against certain sectors of people? The algorithm that detect hate speech online are biased against Black people. So again, it seems there's some issues in there. And then the best algorithms struggle to recognize Black faces equally. Now let's take a look at the example they have. So they say artificial intelligence have a problem with gender and racial bias. Okay, this is some suggestion how we can address the problem. Well, this is a famous TV personality, okay, Oprah Winfrey. Well, what does the AI find out from Amazon? You see, this appears to be male, and the system is 76.5% confident. Look at another lady. Her name is Michelle Obama. Okay, you and I know who she is. Well, she's the #1 lady of the last president Obama. Well, this one is being recognized as a young man wearing a black shirt. Confidence level 0.7999, and the hairpiece is confidence is 0.935. So consider it, you and I looking at the picture, we know who they are. But surprisingly, the AI system doesn't recognize them. So this, again, I find it even much more disturbing. If they are considering using AI and facial recognition to predict criminals, sparks route over AI bias, now you've got a major problem. If you think that our AI system is so good, they even try to use it to predict crimes. You may remember there was one movie sometime ago now by Tom Cruise called Minority Report. What did the movie say? You see that the system can predict the crimes, predict a murder, so that they're going to stop the guy. Now the dilemma is, well, if you're going to stop the guy the criminals and the crimes and they never occurred, then how can you say that the crime has occurred? Okay, so there's a fundamental problem in that. And then in particular, if you look at some of those systems are biased against certain races of people, then you've got a problem. If you take a look. Okay, you can see some of these headlines. IBM abandoned biased facial recognition technology. Facial recognition fails on race. Well, study says passport facial fails checks with dark skin. You take a look in here. Such as in 2019 indicate the facial recognition works poorly on women and Black, older Asian people. Okay, that's you and I. We are Asians. If I take a look at our technical professional organization, IEEE, we have something called the Code of Ethics. Okay, so I'm not going through the first part of you, but I would like to highlight the second page. Okay, let me go back to this. So in here, our code of ethics is being an engineer within the society. I need to treat all persons fairly and with respect, and not to engage in harassment or discrimination, and to avoid injuring others. to treat all persons fairly with respect and not to engage in discriminations based on characteristics like race, religion, gender, disability, age, national origin, sexual orientation, gender, identity, or gender expression. So what it means is that if you have a system, if you design a system, facial recognition, if you expect it to behave like a human being, well, like engineers with the code of ethics, then you should not bias against certain race of people. So if we have a system, we rely on it. It recognizes, well, some black people, well, ladies as males, there's a potential issue in there. And also another possible point, even talk about the potential danger can be made by those humanoid robots, okay, autonomous robot. Well, they're supposed to avoid injuring others, the properties, reputation, or employment by force or malicious action, rumors, or any others, or verbal or physical abuses. I can tell you nowadays, well, even in the academic world, that people generated, machine-generated papers and put into conferences. But they're talking about fake news. They're talking about fake faces can be created with one program. I think it's called deep fake. They can make up a character and show up on the. So there's a lot of this problem we're facing. So this is where we need to look into the ethics. In IEEE, we have something called ethics in action. So we're looking at the basic principles of how you deal with the autonomous and the intelligent systems. So you can download, again, the document. They got an overview document. They have a discussion document going on. Now, I know that my time is coming up, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. You can download the entire, documents, okay, a PDF, we call Ethical Aligned Design. We're talking about how the principles and how the classical, what the foundation they're working on. So I'm not going through all these lot in details, but you can download the whole lot. The explanation, well, how does it come about? Well, for this ethical alignment design. And then some of the basic chapters talking about how it's based on what does it mean by the well-being, what is effective computing, and then the personal data. The main thing we're dealing at this moment of time is the privacy and the protection for the human identity. The methods how to guide the ethical research and the design, and also sustainable development, embedded values, etc. So these are the basic principles. Basic principle, you need to deal with human rights. So the main concern I have is personally, it's the use of the is the use of the facial recognition system to violation of human rights. And to me, that actually is a major issue. That's what's going on in the other part of the world. The well-being of the people, the data agencies are taking care of the data, effectiveness, transparency, accountability, awareness of the issue, competence. So all these are the general principles need to be applied, but based on our IEEE documentation. So similarly, in Australian government, we have also something similar as well. We call the AI ethics framework. Again, the information are readily available. In general, we're looking at the human, social, and environmental well-being. You need to be human-centered. You need to be fair. You need to protect the privacy and the security. You need to be reliable and safe. You need to be transparent. You need to be explainable. You need to be contestable and accountability. So because when you think about a human being, if I were a medical doctor, if I do a mistreatment, I can be dragged to the court. I need to be answerable based on my training. But what can we do with an AI system? Are we going to drag the designer? But the designer said that I put the data into these tools, I train the system, I use it and run. And now the system run and kill somebody. Who is going to take responsibility? So those are the things I think we have to tackle. So where are we now? So I would say 50 years ago, actually more than 50 now. So actually 64 years now. AI, the term was coined in a Dartmouth summer research project on artificial intelligence. That was the first time use of this term AI. Okay, so it's really quite significant. Although if we go back to history, a lot of the historic development can be broadly considered as AI as well. But nevertheless, on the world scale, AI term was first started in 1956. Well, this is really significant. Looking back, it's only 7 years history. So these were some of the pioneers. They have a reunion 50 years later in 2006. Okay, so Minsky is one of the key things, key pioneer at that time. So are we there yet after all these years? Let me show you, some pictures. As a matter of fact, this is my picture. It was me. It was taken around close to 65 years ago. Okay, it was in 1955 in the month of August, actually. So why I bring this up? If you take a look at the picture like this one, well, in the past, if you want to do anything about this image, it's going to be quite a tedious work. You use Photoshop, whatever it is. But nowadays, there's one keystroke with an app. I can change the color of it. I can change it, well, into something like a pencil sketch. And more importantly, I can even have one click, it becomes a color print. Now, in the past, I remember clearly during my younger days, well, we have those photo studios. They can make a color print for you, and they do it by hand. Seriously. Okay, of course, later on, we got a color photo, all come in, all these things, they were history. But now I can change a color photo, 65 years old, with one app, click a button, I got a color print. And you might have seen it now, there's a lot of those video, historic video. So really, we have gone such a long way. And there's another one. This is what they call the deep art, deep AI. So you can see not only just simply go, well, from a technical aspect, now they go into creativity, go into the art, you really extend now. So more, this is the last line now. Let me just share a summary. Then maybe we can say that AI has come a long way since the 1956 Dartmouth Summer Research Project in 1956. So AI is expected to be the driver behind the fourth industrial revolution. You have already seen some of those technology which has been identified. And I have also shared with you the AI roadmap from Australian government. But I would like to stress the importance of the ethics of AI. It must be taken into account of the design and application. And also another thing is looking into AI is now able to go into the creativity now, going to be art, going to be pictures, going into music. But I always remember another quote from one of the movies, okay, Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. I do believe all of us as the researchers, as the academics, as the scientists, as the engineers, we have our roles to play, advancing technology to humanity. This is our mission of IEEE. But nevertheless, well, we do not really violate human rights. We need to have consideration of the well-being. I always challenge that what happens that if you think about one day your smart invention is going to cost millions of lives elsewhere, will you go to bed soundly? Will you be able to sleep or not? Okay. Now that's what I'm going to share with you. So I'm hoping that I give you some kind of sharing from my personal experience and from my own perspective. You may or may not be doing with the work, but I just hope that if you are in the research area, I hope that you produce a lot of quality publications with impact in times to come as well, in particular the areas of AI, emerging technology, and all those things. Okay, so that's what I have. So let me finish with my talk now. Okay, I can pass the time back to you all now. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, sir. So, sir, you have given the very nice presentation, and it is an amazing talk to me. And now from participant side, if anyone want to ask question, please, you are free to ask question. Just unmute yourself and ask the question to sir directly. Please, anyone.
May I suggest that if you want to ask any question, put type into the chat box so that easier for me to read it. Then I can read the question. I see one comment saying that I think from 2017 to 2020, a large changes in given data. Yes, that's true. Big data, yeah, a lot of them available now. As a matter of fact, if you are interested in doing data analytic, AI, big data, those kind of work, in IEEE we have a website, a page called Dataport. Do search it out, IEEE Dataport, and then they are a lot of data sets for you to work on. Okay, one question comes in: how deep learning works? Well, deep learning by itself actually is still part of the neural network. So neural network, if you take a look at my publication, I've been working on that since I would say late 1988, at the most 1990s, okay, around 20 years or so. So a lot of work in the past, AI using neural network was limited by the resources. Well, I remember the time when I first worked on the neural network. I was using an AT, okay, IBM computer AT, and it took a long time. But now with the advancement of the technology, especially you can go into cloud. Some of the very big set of data maybe still take quite a bit of time as well. But nevertheless, that is going to speed up the process a lot already. So to answer in a nutshell, I would say deep learning is only an algorithm. It's able to handle a large amount of data using a neural network. They are interconnected, multi-layers, network, massively interconnected, and then they can go through this training. So that's how they learn it. And then the assumption is you learn it and able to apply to some other data set you have not seen before. But we have fundamental problem. We will always say about overfitting, underfitting, or the bias is one problem you're seeing now. Okay, what will be the effect of AI on employment? Honestly, nobody knows the question. Nobody knows. It all depends how you define effects. Obviously, some of the jobs may go. Say, for example, when you look into autonomous vehicles, actually, it's a big concern. A lot of truck drivers, a lot of taxi drivers, they may lose their job. But on the other hand, there might be a lot of other jobs are being created. Because, say, for example, like delivery, because like in the lockdown, a lot of people who have found employment that be quite good, in terms of being just to deliver foods, okay? So it's very hard to say. I really hate to give any category answer. It's going to be good or bad, but just like anything, in history, so you really have to adapt to it. My suggestion is make sure you understand the technology, and also even better, you become an expert of the technology. Then you yourself, will be in demand. Okay, any more? Okay, so link, please. Very informative session. Thank you. Attendee 42. Okay, extremely good session. Thank you. Explain the assessment that is used to test the intelligence of a machine. Good question. Well, in the past, we have one standard test we call Turing test. Well, a Turing test, it means that, you have a machine and a human being. You type in some question, and then the other side come back to you. And if you cannot tell is the answers from a machine or from a human being, then you say that the machine has passed the Turing test. Okay, and then it's supposed to be based on that very crude definition. And then on the other hand, we have also some others, other means to test it. Chess playing is a good example. Well, chess playing, the Deep Blue can play the chess. Actually, it's quite some time ago now. And then later on, they go into Go. Okay, which is just a black and white color. It was and then now they even beat the champion because the computer is faster. But then again, if you go back to the fundamental on those games, they are very limited because in terms of the scope, they just seem to be a very fast searching machine. But we find that actually now, there were even some games. Some of the machines. Actually, one case example is, they even do some move which is not what people have thought of. So this is really quite interesting. But also another one is there was a game called Jeopardy. Okay, again IEEE. IBM. Demonstrate that one. If you know that Jeopardy is a game, the TV game, what happens? You have a free contestant, and then the one asks a question. Then whoever can, the first one, you answer the question, then you win. So, in the past, you'd expect that it would be quite difficult for the machine because the machine is not to be online. The machine should be offline as well. But subsequently, machine won, and that was Watson. Okay, as a matter of IBM is now using Watson in commercial use. So if you say that, can you test the intelligence of a machine using that one? You may argue that actually the machine of the intelligence is even better, because I was on some narrow scope of it. But still up to this point, I think one of the challenge right now is what we call the general AI. That really go back to the fundamental challenge of over 50 years ago, more than 60 years ago now, during the first era of AI, is what the lack of the common sense knowledge. Okay, we're not yet there. Okay, how you relate, how to transfer the learning. So I would say that the intelligence of the machine now is very good in some very narrow, specialized field, okay? But is it really as general as a human being? Again, human being, the whole spectrum of people. If you look around your friends, some friends you consider they are much more intelligent than the other one as well. So who are we comparing? So it's very hard to say. Okay, I would say that, if it can solve the problem, fairly, with ethics, we're good enough already. Okay, so I hope I answered that question. So any more coming up? No more. No question is good question.
No. So, sir, thank you very much, sir, for sharing time with us and giving such a wonderful session, wonderful talk. and you have given introduction as well as about the introduction about the AI as well as application in the different areas in your country. And so definitely we can also compare what actions our country is working in this direction also. And from the some participant side, they also made some questions, etc. You have given the very good answer of that. So, sir, from our side, our institute side, sir, we are just sharing you certificate of appreciation for your talk and devoting time with us. So, sir, please accept this certificate.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You will also
So you're going to send that one to me?
Will also. Yeah.
You're going to send that one to me?
Yeah. And now, because this is the last session of this our FDP, so just before going to conclude this session, we have with us our head of the department, Dr. Nitin Tenguria, sir. So just share a few words about this talk, sir, please. Dr. Nitin Tenguria, sir, please. Can you hear me, sir?
Sir, please unmute. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Help. The button in the left side.
Yes, sir. Done.
Please,
Good
sir.
afternoon, everybody. This is Nitin Tenguria, head of the Department Mechanical Engineering, SIIT Bhopal. I want to thank everybody present here who shows the interest in this FDB and make this FDB success. And I also would like to thank Dr. Kohli, Dr. Irshad for doing so much hard work to make this event successful. And I would like to thank Mr. Lance who gave precious time to us for sharing his views on artificial intelligence and other technical things. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, at the last but not the least, I would like to invite a few participants who want to share their feedback. Please, you are invited to share your feedback. Any participants?
Sir, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah. Continue.
Sir, my name is Dr. N.V. Ramanamurthy. I am from Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. So I have attended this FDP from I am attending this FDP from past 5 days, and all the sessions are extremely well organized, and the speakers who have delivered the talks are extraordinary. And today's session by Dr. Lance Fung sir is terrifically good, and he has clearly explained the different genres of artificial intelligence and different application areas of AI, where we have to apply the AI and how to handle the COVID situation. Everything he has explained, and I am very much thankful to Dr. Dinesh Kumar Kohli Garu and Irshad Garu and the head of the department and the management of SCRT for conducting this kind of international FDP in online manner. And really, I am very happy to be a part of this international FDP. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your sharing your views. Anyone more who wants to share his feedback or comments? Okay. So at the last, it is my privilege to express my heartfelt thanks to all the speakers of our international FDP, starting from Dr. Muthu Singaram on the first day, then Dr. Raman Gujral, Mr. Sardeep Sandhu, Ms. Maggie Nichols, and Dr. Lance C.C. Fung today. I would like to express my sincere thanks to all the participants joined from all over the India for devoting their time, passionately listening, interacting with speakers, and making our program successful. I would like to express my gratitude to Honorable CMD of SAGE Group, Mr. Sanjeev Agrawal sir, BCM, Dr. Prashant Jain sir, Executive Directors, Ms. Shivani Agrawal and Ms. Sakshi Agrawal ji, Director of our Institute, Dr. Manish Manoria sir, Director Dr. D.K. Mudaiya sir, Head of the Department Dr. Nitin Tenguria sir, Coordinator Dr. Irshad Ahmed sir, and faculty members of the department, including staff members and students. I would like to share the recording of all the talks held during our FDP from 27 to 31st July 2020, along with your e-certificate of participation, and will again plan such a further and see you again. With these words, we are coming to an end of this session with the hope you have joined it, enjoyed it, and will give us chance to reconnect soon in the future. So with this, we are going to end up our this session. Very much to all the participants, speaker. Special thanks because in front of us, Dr. Lance C. Fung is there, and he has given the time. How he has managed time, I don't know, because the sir is very busy, and sir devoted time with us. So heartfelt thanks to sir, and we will be connected together. And we'll try to, if we all the participants also, if they are having any queries regarding AI, etc., contact to sir also through me directly. And thank you for enjoying this big and all the sessions. Thanks to you all.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Alex, sir, Kohli sir.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I don't have a right to share that link, so I am shared you. Please share to the everyone.
We can share on the email.
Feedback link.
Yeah,
No.
You have shared
Please share
that.
here because we have promised. Actually, we have promised them to share here. Please share this because I don't have a right to share everyone.
Okay. You have shared here, no?
Already, I have a right to not share to everyone. I have right only share to organizer. So I have sent you and you share to the everyone.
Okay, yeah. Please. Wait, yeah.
Just click here participant. We are sharing. Feedback link. Please fill up to the 5 p.m. So after that, it will be automatically not working. So sir, I have shared in this chat box itself.
Yeah. Now I think it is shared.
Mm-hmm.
It's shared to all.
Sir, please open the chat box, please, sir. Please open the chat box. Please open to everyone. Then I share.
Okay. The chat box is open. You are not able to share it.
Irshad sir,
Yeah,
you can
it's my
share
share.
it and everyone will be able to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, many time I've shared here. Many time I've shared, but
I also shared.
to only the.
You can see it.
I actually.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I
I
think
can
it's
see the
share
link.
one.
It is now shared. It is now.
Now it is visible.
Yeah.
Okay. So, dear participant, you can just copy it or you just directly you can fill it right now.
Okay. So thank you all. We are going to end this session. Bye and see you again. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.